All right, we are live with Jordan Maxwell. Jordan Maxwell continues as a preeminent researcher and independent scholar in the field of occult religious philosophy. His interest in these subjects began as far back as 1959. He served for 3.5 years as religious editor of Truth Seeker magazine, America's oldest free thought journal. Since 1873, his work exploring the hidden foundations of Western religions and secret societies creates enthusiastic responses from audiences around the world. He has conducted dozens of intensive seminars, hosted his own radio talk shows, guested on more than 600 radio shows, and written, produced, and appeared in numerous television shows and documentaries, and is devoted to understanding ancient religions and their pervasive influence on world affairs today. His work on the subject of secret societies, both ancient and modern, their symbols, has fascinated audiences around the world for decades. And I'd like to welcome Jordan Maxwell to our show. And it's great of you to be here. I really appreciate it. And I'm sorry for the technical difficulties that we had today, my friend.
It's quite all right, because anytime you're dealing with computers, you're dealing with the technology of human beings. And we're not perfect. So, happily,
sure.
we've got nice technology, but sometimes it don't work so hot.
That's for sure.
But anyway, but thank you for having me on. Always delighted to be with you.
Yes, it's great to be with you too, and I'm sure our audience is going to be happy to listen to this as well, and we'll probably have a few questions maybe towards the end of the show or maybe in between a little bit. So I'd like to start off with a couple questions on maybe you can go over your thoughts of Atlantis and more so Lemuria. I'm curious of what your thoughts are on that and the differences between the two, if any, and yeah, I'd love for you to take over from there.
First of all, I think Atlantis actually did exist. And I am of the opinion that it existed in the Atlantic, not in the Antarctic or not in the Mediterranean, but in the Atlantic. And that's why we have an Atlantic Ocean, because of Atlantis that was in the middle of Atlantic Ocean. So we have an Atlantic City, New Jersey. Atlantic City is based on the word Atlantis. And I do believe that there was some kind of a other world, preternatural world existing in the Pacific that we today call New. Because I know there's a lot of stuff going on in the Pacific, like in the Atlantic, that we haven't been told about. Very, very few people know about the enormous temples that have been found off the coast of Japan and Okinawa. Off the coast of Okinawa are some of the incredibly large temples under the ocean. We found them, we've gone down and videotaped them. And so how did they get there in the Pacific Ocean, south of Japan? So if they're there, who knows what else is out there that we haven't found yet? And we're going over the Earth with our satellites in the shuttle, space shuttle. And the space shuttle has certain high-tech cameras that are able to photograph the Earth from space and see things that we don't see. And they can zoom in on them. They can tell you where oil is, where the natural resources are. They can photograph the bottom of the ocean. We've done that. The military has done that in the Atlantic Ocean. The U.S. military and other military units have also photographed the oceans to see what's on the bottom of the oceans, because they are not like us. We want to believe. The military doesn't want to believe nothing. They want to damn well know if there's something on the ocean and where it is and what it is. They don't want any surprises. And so we've had space shuttles who have particular kind of high-tech cameras photographing the ocean, and there's some extraordinary things we have found in the Atlantic Ocean. Just blows my mind. And so I know that there's been a lot of activity on this Earth for millions of years. We know that there was intelligent life on this Earth for at least 3.5 billion years ago. That much we know for sure. 3.5 billion years ago, there was intelligent life here. How do we know that? Because of many of the mines, the mining companies in Africa who go way down into the earth, miles down into the earth. And when they went as far down as they have ever gone, they've had to go through slate. When they've gone down many miles, they hit slate and have to cut through the slate and go deeper. And when they've gone down as far as they could go, we know how far down they went. And all archaeologists and paleontologists tell us that the strata in the earth at that distance far down is minimum of 3.5 billion years old. That strata that far down. And in that strata, we're finding handmade artifacts, melted metals, handmade artifacts that obviously somebody knew metallurgy 3.5 billion years old and could melt metal and put it into artifacts and little things that you can carry around with, I call out of place artifacts. Because when you find handmade artifacts 3.5 billion year old down in the earth, then that means somebody was here 3.5 billion years ago. So we haven't been told anything about our real history of this earth and who else is on this earth with us. Who else has been on this earth 3.5 billion years ago? Your government, your scientists don't tell you anything about because they don't know nothing about it. Science today is a religion. It's got its holy books and its holy saints, and all of them are about as screwy and lying as all the other saints and all the other authorities on the earth. That's why I say I'm not a world's foremost authority. I'm just an ordinary guy looking at extraordinary knowledge. I don't care about being an extraordinary,
Yeah, I think this these types of topics, they take their toll. You learn certain things and it just wears you down, and it's all because of the lies we've been fed. But I agree with you. I everything with Atlantis and Mu. And do you feel that some people feel Mu was a more spiritual based society? Do you believe that's true?
I think so. I tend to think so for other reasons. Mm-hmm. Because Atlantis, we're told, and I think it's probably about right, because we in America, in North American continent, we are supposed to be the new Atlantis. That's what the founding fathers understood. They said that in their writing, that we are being viewed. They viewed the founding of America as the new Atlantis. And so if that to be the case, we are just like Atlantis, because we are told by Plato and the ancient people about Atlantis that Atlantis was a very powerful center of power on the earth, political and spiritual power on the earth, but that its technology far, far outstripped their spirituality. The Atlanteans were very crude people who were concerned with war and violence, technology. They didn't give a damn about spirituality or humanity. And so their whole civilization went under. It's as if the gods themselves had had enough of these people who are arrogant, self-centered, egotistical, technologically superior, and build bombs and killing people and taking over the world. And so from what we are told by Plato is that the gods themselves decided to get rid of Atlantis because it's a threat to all life on the earth, because their technology is extraordinarily brilliant technology that could do things that other people couldn't do. But they were using that technology to overshadow all governments and all people, pushing people around and bullying people because they had the technology and the wisdom and the background and the experience, and the rest of the world was just trying to live their life. And so from what I can tell on Mu, the records we have of that is saying that they were far more spiritual people. And that seems to be the case because if you travel around the Pacific like I have, the peoples there, the indigenous peoples on Easter Island, and Hawaii, in the Pacific, are very spiritual. They're very spiritual. They have a very long history of the ancient gods that they worship. They still worship today. And even I was told when I was in Hawaii that the girls that are dancing the hula dances,
Yeah.
they must do what they're doing. They must do it a certain way. Hula dancing is not just having fun dancing. No, no. It's an expression of given to us, we humans, by the gods. And if you're going to be a hula dancer, you need to do the movements right. Because if you don't, they will deal with you spiritually.
I like that. I don't think I've ever heard the hula relation. That's really interesting. It's almost like their ritual, their form of ritual that to the gods. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, it's fascinating stuff.
And if the girls do it wrong, if they make a wrong move, they get sick. Who knows what could happen to them?
Mm-hmm.
And also, there's a lot of people who have taken in their pocket pieces of rocks from the island, put it in their pocket, brought it home to the States, and they've had nothing but trouble, demonic possessions, all kinds of traumas going on in their life, and they finally decided to send the rock back to Hawaii, and then that problem stopped. So it's therefore telling you, if you take something off of those islands, put it in your pocket, bring it home, you're bringing something that belongs to the spirit world that was there, that was supposed to be there, and it wasn't given to you. You took it. And the spirits that it represents have come with it. And they're going to make life very, very uneasy for you. You better send it back because you stole something you were not supposed to have. And so pick up a rock and put it in your pocket and think this is going to be clever. They're bringing home something from the islands. Don't realize till they get here that you brought home something you should never have touched. You should have left it alone. So that tells me that there is a spiritual presence there in the islands of the Pacific.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's you hit it on the head with the the different types of groups and all that stuff. Even the artifacts you're mentioning too. We've heard that story over and over all over the world. Someone grabs an artifact and it's possessed or haunted or whatever it may be. Yeah.
Right. And
so
another thing that was interesting is that in the Bermuda Triangle, any vehicle that goes through the Bermuda Triangle off the coast of Florida, there's a Bermuda Triangle, very world famous. Any boat or any airplane, any kind of a vehicle that goes into the Bermuda Triangle, planes and boats have what do you call them when they trace the north and south? They call what? Planes have them.
Talking about you're not talking about a compass, I assume, or are you talking about the black box?
No, compass.
Okay.
Compass. Any ship goes into any kind of a ship of any kind goes into the Bermuda Triangle, or any kind of an airplane flying through the triangle. Everybody will tell you that their compass immediately points due north. It points to the North Star. It does not point to magnetic north. Instantly, magnetic north is gone, and all compasses point to the North Star, which is true north, not magnetic north. Why? Why is that? So if you're flying and you're used to watching your compass, and you fly in, all of a sudden the compass is going to jump to another point, which is true north, and you're going to be thinking that's magnetic, and you're going to be way off, like somebody have and got lost in the Bermuda Triangle. Now, another thing about the Bermuda Triangle I think is very interesting is that planes and ships have been lost in the Bermuda Triangle. Quite literally, thousands of planes have gone into the Bermuda Triangle and never came out. Ships have gone into the Bermuda Triangle and never came back. So we know that there have been a lot of ships and planes lost in the Bermuda Triangle. It's not by chance. Something is going on down there. But what a lot of people who are aware of what's going on in the Bermuda Triangle do not know that on the other side of the Atlantic, in the Azores Islands and what we call the Canary Islands, off the coast of Africa, is a set of islands called the Canary Islands. The Canary Islands are not named after a bird, but after a dog. Canary coming from canine. Canary Islands are a particular kind of dog that were found there. They were called the Canary Islands because of a certain kind of dog. But something goes on in the Canary Islands on the other side of the Atlantic from the Bermuda Triangle that's equally as puzzling. No ships get lost, no planes get lost there on the Bermuda Triangle. But in the Canary Islands, they have been finding for many years, enormous ships, yachts, large ships, small ships, medium-sized, all kinds of ships are found off the coast of Africa in the Canary Islands area, where there's nobody on the ships, period. No one, no human, no life forms are on ships. The ships pull into the Canary Islands area, and for some reason, all people on the ships in the Canary Islands are gone. Nobody knows where they are. The ships are sitting there; they're doing just fine, but there's nobody on them.
Yeah, it sounds just like you were saying with the Bermuda Triangle, with the planes and all that. You know, where they just disappear and they're never to be seen again. But I mean, that's even weirder that the people are gone and the ships are there with no bodies. You know,
but the people are gone. There are no people.
Yeah.
So something's happening to people when they go near the Canary Islands in boats. Their boats are fine. They're found sitting out there. There's nobody on them. So what's that all about?
It's wild. Yeah, that's a
on in our oceans and on our earth that we are not privy to know about. Because
absolutely
running our planet, do not figure it's an idea that you don't need to know about. Like George Carlin said, the people who run our planet is a big club, and you ain't in it. So they're not telling you what's really going on this earth, out there in the Atlantic Ocean, the Pacific Ocean, and even in your own country. We are
absolutely
the fact that there are giants here, extraterrestrials here, our symbols and emblems and our monuments like the pyramids, Machu Picchu, Earth Base 1, all the strange places that have been found in the world that obviously there's some place, I don't remember where it is, it's on the web, it's an incredible picture, I have it on my website. Steps going up the side of a mountain, I think they were in China. It's steps going up the side of the mountain, and each step is at least 12 to 15 foot high. Each step is 15 feet high. So that when you see them, they're huge steps going up the side of the mountain. And you got to figure, who in the hell would need a step that's 15 feet high on each step? So to take one step, you just move 15 feet. And as you step up the next one, it's another 15 feet. That's like a story and a half, almost 2 stories high. Each step is 2 stories high. And it's going up the side of a mountain. And you got to wonder, who designed and built steps going 2 stories high up the side of a mountain? That alone would take some brains to make it level and make it completely, workable. And who needs steps that are 2 stories high? It's just so many things not being told.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I have a question from a friend of mine here. He says, do the Canary Islands or the Bermuda Triangle have anything to do with Atlantis? I have an idea, but I'm curious of your thoughts.
I'm totally sure, because Atlantis is in the middle, and it was an extraordinary place that was referred to by the cultures that knew about it, where the gods lived. There's where the ancient ones, the illumined gods, lived on Atlantis. Well, anytime you get extraterrestrials from somewhere else in the universe who come here and they're living here, you've got to figure there's going to be a lot of strange stuff going on around their neighborhood.
Absolutely. And I think before we move forward, the last thing I wanted to ask you about Atlantis is the links to Egypt and the Mayans and what your thoughts are on that, just briefly, and then we can move on to another area.
I am not sure which was first and which came second, but I do know, because I've seen too many pictures of them, of the statues that are found in Central America, Mexico, and South America in the jungles, which are identical with those found in Egypt. The Egyptian statues of their princesses, their pharaohs, and their gods, and all of that are identical with the same kind of picturing of these statues in Central and South America. But they're identical. And so
Absolutely.
somebody got it from somebody. Either Egypt got it from South America, which I think is the case, rather than South America getting from Egypt.
Yeah, I think the main thing is that they're similar, and it's in my opinion, there's no question about it. So it's you know, it even it doesn't really matter who was first. It's interesting to know, but you know, at least we have, you know, at least there's proof there, in my opinion. So
yeah. I'm telling you, my feeling after hearing all the experts over the years and looking into this and studying the subject for so many years and talking to people who know and actually see with my own eyes evidences, I think, it's just my opinion, I think South America, Central and South America are far, far more older than anything we talk about in Egypt and the pyramids. I think South America and Central America is a real place to go to look. I mean, Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, where was he in the beginning of the movie? Down in the Amazon, when he comes across his temple in the Amazon. And so I think that South America is probably Central and South America hold the key to understanding the esoteric history of our Earth.
yeah, I'd have to agree with that. Everything else is probably underneath, and we can't even reach it, you know. But I would have definitely, yeah, that's a great observation. So I was thinking, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Let's say, and I heard from people who are working at NASA and people who know this kind of information, that when the first space shuttle went around the world, they were taking pictures with these cameras, very highly specialized cameras. And the astronauts happened when they came back to Earth and they were looking at the pictures that the space shuttle had taken. They were looking at the pictures and they spotted on the map, on these maps, that there were two sets of 6 dots, 6 dots, 2 sets of them. And so they put the cellophane picture up over to tell where these dots are, and they found them in the Amazon jungle. And they found where they are, so they pinpointed where those 12 dots were. And so then they sent down, the military sent down, I guess NASA sent down, investigating planes that go down and fly low and see what the hell those 12 dots are perfectly lined up and see what they are, because nobody knew about them. And they went down there and they found out that 12 pyramids, the size of Cheops pyramid, 12 of them. There are 2 rows of 6 in South America. In that particular area, they went back down to actually go on the ground and go into that area and research. And the scientists were told, no, you're not allowed to go back there. That's an area that nobody goes in, period. So you go at your own, you're going to have problems if you go back there, because everybody here knows you do not go into that area where those pyramids are, because the gods put them there, and you're not supposed to go there and see them and be by them. And so we know that there are 12 pyramids in the jungles of Amazon, and we don't know who built them. We have no idea in the world. They're as big as the Great Pyramid in Egypt. We don't know if they're really like the pyramid of Egypt, which has a lot of stuff on the inside. We don't know if they're just solid or if there's actually rooms inside those pyramids. But they're as big as the Cheops pyramid in Egypt, and there's 12 of them. And so if you can imagine how much it must have taken to build one great pyramid, somebody was in South America a long time ago was building 12 of them.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
So I was thinking we can move on to, I was thinking, basically a friend of mine asked also what your opinion is, if you could just give us maybe a brief opinion on the Nag Hammadi scriptures and your opinion on the validity. I find them pretty compelling, but I'm curious what your thoughts are.
Yeah, what are they called?
Nag Hammadi, I think is the way they pronounce it. Yeah.
When you get to be 80 years old, you bring that question through.
No problem.
Many manuscripts. Yeah. They were found just before the Dead Sea Scrolls were. And they are far more interesting than the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Nag Hammadi manuscript. It's called the Nag Hammadi Library on the manuscript. Just like the Dead Sea Scrolls, they were put into containers, and somebody happened by chance to find one of the containers and pull these scrolls out, and they discovered that these scrolls are very ancient and incredible stuff is written on them about the ancient world. And so I think the Nag Hammadi manuscripts are very legitimate, and the kind of stuff they talks about the things which are happening today on the earth and things that were going to happen. And if I'm not mistaken, didn't the Nag Hammadi manuscripts talk about Jesus?
Yeah, and I think you're right. The correlation today is just uncanny. I mean, it's almost comedic, like how it lines up.
Nag Hammadi was a little town in Egypt, and so they found this Nag Hammadi library of texts. They found them in a little town called Nag Hammadi in Egypt, but archaeologists are saying that the Nag Hammadi library, those scrolls, are much older than the Dead Sea Scrolls. And those scrolls go way back and talk about things that happened many, many, many years before the Dead Sea Scrolls. But the Nag Hammadi manuscripts in Egypt are talking about Jesus. And Jesus did this, he did that, he said this, he said that. This was way before the time that Jesus would have been around. The Dead Sea Scrolls would talk about. No, this is a long time before the Dead Sea Scrolls, and in Egypt they're talking about Jesus. And he did this and he did that. He did all these wonderful miracles, etc. And another thing, incidentally, if you go on the web and you go to image, so you only see pictures, and you type in Jesus with a magic wand, you will see many, many pictures all around the world in Christian churches where the prophets, Ezekiel and Samuel and all the great prophets and Moses, etc., with Jesus, all these prophets in the Old Testament, the Bible, and the apostles in the New Testament, and Jesus, all are doing their magical work with magic wands. Moses is with his magic wand, and Jesus is resurrecting people with a magic wand. And then, I can actually see the picture with Jesus raising the dead with his magic wand. A lot of people don't know that these are in churches around the world and in synagogues around the world, showing the ancient Jewish prophets and the ancient Jewish Old Testament prophets all doing their work with magic wands.
Yeah, that's impressive. And then I was thinking it's interesting you're saying there in synagogues too. It's I didn't really know that. I knew the other stuff you mentioned, but I didn't know that. That's an interesting thing to point out. So I think now we should maybe transition into, I'm thinking UFOs might be good briefly, in your opinion on maybe what exactly orbs are.
Well, let me tell this one thing again before we go to the UFO.
Sure.
Why is the word synagogue spelled S-Y-N around the world, but in Israel it's spelled S-I-N? A synagogue is S-I-N, not S-Y-N. All over the rest of the world it's S-Y-N. Why is there a different spelling in Israel? Because the Israel spelling is correct. They know what they're talking about there, so they call it S-I-N, synagogue. Why? Because the God in Israel, synagogue was the house of the worship of the God of Israel. Well, a long time ago, thousands of years ago, in that area that we call the Middle East or the Sinai, and ultimately into the Levant, into that area we call Israel today, that was a Canaanite. It was called the land of Canaan. And in that ancient area of the Middle East, including Egypt, all the way up into the Israel, what we call Israel today, all that area was dominated by the worship of the moon. The moon was a major god in the ancient world, the moon god. And the moon god was, in Arabic, was Allah, and in Hebrew, Yahweh. Hebrew was Yahweh, and Arabic is Allah. So when I hear Islamic teachers talking about, well, Allah is right there in your Bible, right there in the English Bible, it says Allah. Well, of course it says Allah, because that's what the Jews were worshiping, was Yahweh. And that's a Hebrew word for Allah, and Yahweh. But the Hebrews were worshiping a moon god.
Yeah, absolutely. That's amazing. I think we still, there's a lot of moon worshippers today too. I run into quite a few of them, and
Yeah, well,
I have my thoughts on the moon.
that's why today all Jews celebrate their holy days after sundown. They have their religious holidays, and all their days begin after sundown. From sundown to sundown is a day. Why do Jews have their holy days after sundown? Because that's when the moon comes out, is after sundown. So they don't have their holy days during the day because the sun's out. And that's for Christians, because Christians are worshiping God's Son, the light of the world. And He is our risen Savior. Of course, the sun lights the world. And obviously, He is your risen Savior. The sun, S-U-N, is your risen Savior. If it doesn't rise, we're dead in 3 weeks. If it doesn't come back. And so the ancient Egyptians said the sun was pure energy, pure energy. And pure energy is pure life. Life is energy. There is no life without energy. So the Egyptians said the sun was pure energy. And if he would keep his energy to himself and not share it with you and the earth and everybody else in our solar system, if the sun would keep his energy, he would probably last forever. But because he's giving his energy freely to everybody so they can grow plants and they can see the world and they can have warmth and eat and grow their food and grow their families, because of why? Because the sun is sharing his energy with you. Well, then theoretically, if he's sharing his energy with you, he's going to die one day because he's not keeping his energy, he's giving it away. And so therefore, the story was in Egypt that God's Son, the light of the world, our risen Savior, is giving his life so that you might live. That's true. The sun is giving its energy so that you can get up in the morning, go out to work, and grow food and have a family and live. Because without the sun, this earth would be covered with ice and we'd all be gone.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And you just feel good when you go out in the sun in general. So, I mean, in my opinion, it's just a no-brainer. If I don't have the sun, you start to just get low. Your body doesn't feel good. Everything changes.
It's horrible living on this earth during an ice age. Away from the sun don't shine. We are dead. The whole subject of life, period, is gone from the earth.
Yeah, I couldn't even imagine that.
5 miles of ice forever. And there is no sun to warm the earth.
Yeah.
And we not look at the sun, we're told at 93 million miles from us. Obviously, at that far distance, we are not getting heat from the sun. The heat is going to dissipate within a million miles, maybe two or three. Oh, 93 million miles away, the sun's heat is going to heat the earth? No.
Yeah, I'm of the same agreement. I think the sun is pretty close, and I think the moon is ridiculously close. They're probably both ridiculously close, but
Nothing surprises me.
mm,
Nothing. I've been around too long. I've seen too many things that make no sense. And so I always keep an open mind because your mind is like a parachute. It don't work if it's not open. So you never know what you're talking about. Just be careful when you say something is full of bull. You may not be right.
oh yeah, I know. It's the theory, in my opinion. It's like it's just fun to think about, and it's after you can't believe everything you're told anyway, so you just
So
it's a guesstimate.
that's exactly right. And so we here on the earth are experiencing incredible things today on the earth. And I think it's because the time for us to leave this world is coming soon. I think that just as all the great empires that fell before us, from the Roman Empire, the Grecian Empire, the Babylonian, the Assyrian, Babylonian, all of the ancient great empires that have ever lived, they're gone. And I think it looks to me like something is happening to the earth, and it looks like something is coming upon the earth that we don't want to think about. And maybe there are gods out there, and maybe there are higher forms of technology and life forms out there that have enough of us. And something might very well have happened to us very soon. We might be confronted with something we don't want to think about.
Yeah, absolutely. I think anyone who looks into this stuff and even is slightly intuitive or meditates and just spends some time with this stuff, I seem to run into tons of people who feel that way, and I feel that way myself, and I don't like even really talking about it that much, but it is what it is, and we got to be honest about the reality we live in and the reality we might face in the future, you know?
That also brings me back to the idea that you had better take precautions and try and move closer to the spirit, move closer to God, so to speak. Meaning, open your mind and look at the world that's around you and find out and study the ancient prehistoric or what is called preternatural world. Today we use the term incorrectly. It's called, with the term we use is supernatural. We think supernatural is strange, stuff. But no, supernatural simply means it's natural, but it's really natural. It's supernatural. But
Yep.
the word is preta, Preta, preternatural. Preternatural means not of this world. You're experiencing and seeing something that's not of your earth. It's not of this world. It's from somewhere else. So when you see spirits and demons and ATs or UFOs up close, you realize in your gut that what you're looking at is not of this world. Things that have happened to you that you cannot explain, they're not supernatural, they are preternatural. And believe me, I've had all kinds of preternatural experiences in my life. I know what I'm talking about. There is something called preternatural, things that you cannot explain that happen to you, that you see or experience. And so that should, by all means, it should teach you to be respectful of the spirit world and of the world you live in.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. It gives you that, like you said, a respect, an inner respect for that. There's stuff we can't even see, stuff we can't explain, but
I
you
like
better
that.
respect it.
I like that one quote from the astronomer who said, very famous astronomer said, "The universe is not stranger than you imagine. It's stranger than you can imagine. You have no idea in the world what's going on out there. You don't want to know. It's frightening, the stuff that's going on out there in deep space that no one's ever told you about. And we know that things are going on in our solar system that will defy imagination. I've had scientists directly from NASA sit and talk with me. I was in San Francisco, and some scientists from NASA were showing me. They said, Jordan, we've heard you talk about the planet Saturn and how Saturn is the god of the Jews today. The Jews worship the planet Saturn. And so Saturn in the ancient world was called El. El. El was the name for Saturn in the ancient world. And so today you see the Jews going to Temp El. Temp El as a house of El, the house of God. They call it a Temp El. The temple was Temp El, the house of Saturn. Another term that the Phoenician Canaanites gave to the planet Saturn was, the word for Saturn was Shabbath, Shabbath. Shabbath. Shabbath was the planet Saturn. And they said, if you're going to worship Saturn, worship it on his day. It's called the Sabbath. So today when Christians go to church and they say, oh, you keep holy the Sabbath day. Sabbath is the worship of the planet Saturn. Wake up. It's an old ancient name for the planet Saturn. The Jews called him the Lord of the Rings. Of course, Saturn was Lord of the Rings. The Jews in Hollywood are still making movies about Lord of the Rings, about their god, Saturn, the Lord of the Rings. And this is why Jewish men were told when you get married, you wear a wedding ring. Women were supposed to listen to their god, Saturn. So they wear a ring. And the Lord of the Rings is Saturn. So today the Jews are worshiping Saturn on Shabbat or Sabbath on the seventh day of the week, which is Saturday. And so from Friday night to Saturday night is Saturn. And so that's why you see Jews going to the temple. Friday nights and Saturdays, they go to Temp El to worship the planet Saturn.
So what do you think of the theory of the Saturn moon control system, or any opinion on that?
I think that there is some kind of a control system between the planet Saturn and the moon. And I've heard too many people in the Native American communities talking about it, other scientists talking about it from a scientific point of view. And I do believe there is some kind of a connection. But what's really interesting is on the planet Saturn, the Jews are worshiping the planet Saturn. And there is a star in the Bible called Chium, something like that. In the book of Isaiah, God talks to the Israelites, and it says that God is condemning you because you have used the star of your God. And he names that star Chium, Chium, something like that. You look that word up in the dictionary, it says the star of Saturn. So the Jews are wearing the star of Saturn, and God says in the book of Isaiah, I'm condemning you. Your whole religion is condemned because you're using the star of your God, the one you picked. I didn't tell you to wear that. You picked it. So I'm condemning you. And so then you look up the word star of your God in the dictionary, the planet Saturn. What is the star of the planet Saturn? Well, go to any reference work on astrology and astronomical symbols, and you'll see it's two pyramids, two triangles interlaced. That's what we call the hexagram, or the six-pointed star. And so the hexagram, what we call the Star of David, is the star of the planet Saturn. Go back and do some homework. And so when you see people wearing it bravely, proudly wearing the Star of David, what they're saying is, look, see, we have a hex put on us. The six-pointed star is a hex, because the old ancient religions used to draw a circle on the ground and draw a triangle, and then draw another triangle going the other way, which is the Star of Saturn, the Star of David, inside a circle. They would stand inside of it and cast out spells on you. So that's where we get the idea that we're putting a hex on you. You got a spell put on you, the hex. Well, hell, you're wearing it on your chest. You're showing, look, I've got the hex put on me. The hex is the six-pointed star of the planet Saturn. And so therefore, on the planet Saturn at the North Pole is a hexagram on the North Pole of Saturn. How did the Jews note that there was a hexagram put on the star of Saturn?
Yeah, that's mind blowing to me. That when I heard about the hexagram on Saturn, that's just crazy. It's just wild. So, sorry.
And also, I was told by some of the scientists at NASA, I'm not going to give his name because he's already too well known, and I don't know if he's even alive because he was really hounded. So I don't know if he's gone or not. But you can't find him anymore when I talk to anybody because I know he got in trouble by talking too much. But he talked about the fact that we know, NASA knows that Saturn is inhabited. That much we know because we've seen ships going into the planet and coming out of the planet. So it's inhabited. It's not people living on Saturn, no, in Saturn. They go into the planet, and as our space vehicle goes around, takes another picture of Saturn, you see ships coming out and going different directions, coming in and going out from the planet inside.
Sorry, we just had a little video delay there. What is your opinion on, well, since we're talking about Saturn, I think his name was Dr. Berggren or Bergson from the Rings of Saturn book?
Norm Berglund.
Yeah, that's right.
Dr. Norm Berglund.
Did you ever have a chance to talk with him while he was alive?
He was the one I talked with.
Ah.
I don't normally use his name because I don't advertise him because he's paid a terrible price. He's gone into hiding.
Yeah, I know. I think he passed away. But yeah, he did one interview and then he was gone. So
I sat and talked with him for about an hour in San Francisco in a hotel. I was speaking there about the planet Saturn, and he came up to me and said, "Jordan, I want to talk with you in the lobby." We went out there, and he said, "You're talking about the planet Saturn. I came here just to talk to you because I don't think anybody else is going to understand what I'm saying." He showed me pictures, photographs, which have all the identification of NASA on it. And he said, "We know that Saturn is and people are on Saturn. We know this."
Yeah, he seemed like a really, really humble guy, and he seemed conflicted towards the end of his life, and he just wanted to get it out. And I respect his work greatly, and people should look into that if they haven't. That's a good one. So we're going to move on just a little bit. I want to make sure that we get a little plug in here for you, Jordan. If anyone's interested in checking out Jordan's website, go to jordanmaxwellshow.com. And he also has started his own research society website, which is jordanmaxwellresearch.is. If you go into the description tab of this video, you can find those links to find out more of Jordan's work here.
Just go on my website, which is 3 words, only 3 words, jordanmaxwellshow.com. When you go to Jordan Maxwell Show, that's my website. And on my website, Jordan Maxwell Show, there is another website you will see advertised. This is Jordan Maxwell Research Society. All that is another website in which I'm uploading all of my research about all the subjects I talk about, all the pictures, diagrams, photographs, all the documentation, incredible documentation on strange things that happen in the world. And all of this is on that website. You can join the website one time. You can join it for a lifetime subscription for a small contribution. It's a lifetime subscription. And you can always go to that website, and it's cram-filled with pictures, documents, audios and videos, and all kinds of strange information about the world you live in that you've never heard before. And also, when you go on jordanmaxwellshow.com, my website, on the right-hand side of the screen, on the home page, you will see two videos which you can download and watch immediately. They're being streamed. But that has nothing to do with the Jordan Maxwell Research Society. That's different. That's a vault of information. You can join that. This one, you can watch the video. You can watch the videos for a couple of dollars. You can watch the videos immediately because they're being streamed. But it has nothing to do with the Research Society. That's different. That's a massive website of all kinds of information. My two videos are on particular subjects. So if you want to watch my videos, go on my website, Jordan Maxwell Show, and click on the two videos and watch them.
Yeah, I highly recommend everyone go to both those websites. They're excellent. I have a question from one of my friends here, Bertie. She's asking, what exactly is the headdress the ancient Sumerians wear and the reason for that design?
Yeah, I think it was called the horn headdress, horns. The Pope wears the Pope's mitre, a big hat. That's a fish head. It represents a fish god, not Jesus. The Pope is representing and bringing to the world the religion of Dagon. D-A-G-O-N. Go back to the dictionary and look it up. Look up the god Dagon. D-A-G-O-N.
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I remember listening to you speak about this in the past. Is there any relation to the Dogon tribe with any of that? It just sounds similar, but I never looked it up.
I don't think there was, but they both came out of the same area.
Mm-hmm.
But this particular tribe in Africa are called Dogons. They are very, very interesting African tribe, living in the most primitive way possible. And yet they know all about the universe. They know all about our solar system. They know everything there is to know about the universe that we live in. And scientists are trying to learn from them where they found out all this information. They're called the Dogon, D-O-G-A-N-S, Dogons. And then there is also the god Dagon, D-A-G-O-N. Dagon was a fish god. He came out of the sea and brought to mankind all the laws and regulations, explained to us how the universe was put together and how the magic works on the earth and how to grow food, what to do and how to do, and showed us the laws that we need to live by. The god who came out of the sea, the fish god Dagon.
And that kind of reminds me of I don't know if I think it's the Tuatha De Danann with Ireland, right? It's a very, very similar story, isn't it? Where something came out of the sea and just destroyed like the community. I could be mixing up the names or something, but are you familiar with that at all?
Dagon was also known in that area of the ancient world by a different name, Anis. Okay. Anis is the name of the fish god. Some of the people in the Middle East call him Dagon, D-A-G-O-N. Some people call him Anis, the fish man. And therefore, the priest of Anis and the priest of Dagon, they wore fish heads, representing their god, the fish, who came out of the ocean. And the fish head is the same one that the Pope wears. It's called the Pope's mitre. Now, look it up in the dictionary. You will see Pope's mitre is the head of a fish. Dagon, the fish god. I knew there was something fishy about the whole story. And so Dagon is the fish god, and the Pope is promoting the worship of Dagon. And that's why we're in trouble all over the world, because the Pope is promoting the worship of an old, ancient, Babylonian god named Dagon. Anis, the fish man. That's why Christians have on the back of their car the symbol of the fish. Because Dagon is the fish god. That's why Jesus is referred to as the great fisher. And he was always with his buddies who were all fishermen. No, there's a reason why. It's because we are living in the age of Pisces today. And the coming age, 2,150 years. Each age on the earth, age of Pisces, age of Taurus, age of Aries, all the different ages were 2,150 years long. So therefore, we've been in the 2,150-year period called Pisces, the age of Pisces. Pisces is always symbolized by two fish. That's a symbol of the astrological sign. Pisces is two fish. And so we are told in the Bible that Jesus fed his followers with two fish, 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. That's a symbolic number. Symbolically means something. And so the two fish are the two fish of Pisces. And when Jesus is going to die, in Luke 22:10, the Bible said Jesus was going to be led off and be put to death. The apostles, the other 12, the chosen 12, came to him, the 12 apostles, and they asked him, since you're now going to leave us, you're going to die, what's going to happen to us? Where do we go? And Jesus said, you go into the city and look, and you will find a man carrying a pitcher of water. Go into the house of the man with the water pitcher. Follow him into the house that he goes into. The man with the water pitcher. Well, what is the symbol of Aquarius if it isn't a man with the water pitcher? So the whole story of Jesus in the New Testament is astrological astrology. The entire thing. Even he, Jesus, was not a man, but a metaphor, a symbolic metaphor. That, we're told that the Bible has all of these Bible codes. Well, there's a big code there. That the whole story of Jesus is an encoded message. He represents the truth and the light. He said, I am the truth and the light. So Jesus represents intellectual, spiritual truth and light. So whatever happened to him, well, that's what happens to that truth and the light. Whatever he says in relation to something that happened, whatever he says, that's what the truth and light would say. Whatever, wherever he went, that's where the truth and the light went. And that's what happened to him. And so we see that the truth and light got nailed to a cross and spit on and was tortured until he died. And he said, don't follow me. Be in the world, but don't be any part of the world. Like I am no part of the world. So that scripture is telling you that truth, intellectual, spiritual enlightenment, the truth and the light is no part of this world. There is no truth and light in this world, period. The whole thing is a lie, a deception that you've never been told before. So there is no truth or light in this world.
I hate to agree with you, but I do. I think you're mainly on point with that. I think we can tap into source, whatever we want to call it, but in the end, you could be looking at deception too. So it's tough sometimes, But I think at least me, and I know a lot of other people, you can feel when you're connecting out of this matrix in some way,
I feel it.
Yeah.
It's something that I know is true. My gut tells me this is true. What this person is saying is absolutely true. I have that same feeling. It's a spiritual feeling. So it's a very interesting world we live in. And as I said, the world is in darkness all over the world because Jesus said, I send you out to be in the world, but don't be any part of the world, for I am no part of the world. I am the truth and the light. And no man comes to the Father unless he comes through me. When people say, well, see, there it is. You have to go through Jesus. No, it's a symbolic story. When Jesus said, no man goes to the Father unless he comes through me, it means when he says, I am the truth and the light, which is telling you symbolically in the story, unless you're going to go before God looking for the actual truth and the light, you're not into your silly ass religion and all your silly basketball and beer drinking religion. But if you're really looking for the spiritual light and truth, don't even go to God. It's got nothing to do with it. If you want the real truth, well then you can't handle the real truth.
That was beautiful, Jordan. You wrapped that one up beautifully. And I know we only have a little bit more time together, so just I think we're going to try and maybe do another session at some point down the road. But I'd like just for you to maybe touch on what you think orbs are specifically, and then if you want, you can do a little something on UFOs. But I'm kind of curious what you think orbs are, because I have some thoughts on them. But
I think orbs are what we call the watchers. The Bible in the Old Testament talks about the watchers. And the implication of the words and the explanations I have read in the reference work, the Jewish reference works, basically say that when the Bible is talking about the watchers, it's talking about a group of creatures that are here on the earth with their spirits. And their whole reason for existing and being here at all was to watch everything, everybody, watch it all. And the mere fact that these spirits, these angels or bubbles or whatever they are that we see, and we can photograph them, they are there to watch everything, to watch everybody. And the most important way to understand it is whatever they are seeing is automatic like a computer, going back to a Wi-Fi, going back to God, which is like a big computer. So whatever they are seeing, God is seeing automatically. And wherever they go to see, that's what God is going to see. So they're the watchers. They do nothing but look at us and watch us and see what we're doing. And automatically, when their eyes see us doing something, God sees it. They're referred to in Hebrew as the watchers. And I think that probably those little circles and little bubbles we see in our photograph are spirit entities who are all around us watching everything.
yeah, I think you're right on that for sure. I feel that too. The other theory I had on it, and again, this is just a total theory. I thought they could, some of them, not all of them. I think some of them could be part of the reincarnation cycle. It seems like they might be a thing where maybe they're spitting out spirits, you know, for birth and picking up spirits for death. But that's just a theory. I don't know. If it's, you know, I don't know if it's true. Just
well,
something.
you know, that's another subject. Reincarnation. See, that's what I need. People tell me, you need to see this doctor, you need to see that doctor, and you need to go do this, you need to go do that. I said, no, all I need is reincarnation. Everything about me needs to be renewed. But reincarnation is a very interesting subject because I can tell you a second way to look at reincarnation you probably never thought of that really brings into question what you're really seeing if you're seeing reincarnated people. People who say that they have been reincarnated, they can tell you exactly things which happened, say, 500, 800 years ago, or 1,000 years ago. They can tell you because they were there and they saw it. They can tell you what color, where it was, and what the person did, what they were wearing. And then you hear it, and then later on we see in science they found the place. And be damn it, exactly what the people said it was, they found it was exactly that. How would they have known what happened 1,000 years ago? We know because we found it, but they were telling us before we found it where to look and what it was going to be when we find it. How did they know? And so the idea is, well, obviously they must have lived there, so they were reincarnated. No,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Another, I can take all the same facts about people who do things that we're not supposed to know, and they were absolutely correct. But I can give you another idea, which is equally as valid, I feel. And that is there are spirit entities around us. We call them poltergeists, or demons, or devils, angels. There are all kinds of words around the world for the spirit world. Ghosts and spirits. And those ghosts and spirits may have lived 10,000 years ago. They don't die. They're a spirit. They're a spiritual form. They're not like your body that goes old and dies. No, they're spirits that don't die. And they were back then. You weren't. They were back then, and they saw things that were happening. And they record, just like we have our tape recorders, they record in their spirit everything exactly correct. Because they're spirit entities from another place and another place in the universe. They're with the gods. And so as spirits and angels, they can see things and remember that you can't. And if that's true, then spirits we know do talk to humans. And maybe when you are under the influence of a spirit, we talk about people being demon possessed. The devil is in you and he possesses you. Well, there is something to that. There is a spirit world that can possess you. And if you're being possessed by a spirit, perhaps you are talking about something that happened 500 years ago that nobody knows anything about. And people think, well, he must have been there. No, maybe there was a spirit that was there. And it's talking to you and putting it into your mind like Wi-Fi, because your brain is a computer. And all the wiring is connected down to your spine. Your body is a battery. This is why you heat up. Your body heats up and stays at 98 degrees because your body is a battery. And that's why if you go to court, you're in hot water. And if you can't be bailed out, they put you in a cell because you're a battery. And so therefore, your body, your brain is a computer, and we're told that our nervous system, our blood vessels, the nervous system go on for miles and miles and miles of nervous systems all through our body. And so therefore, God must be something like a Wi-Fi machine, something that can talk to all of us on Wi-Fi instantly. So we all get the same ideas at one time. We all see something together. Somebody invents a hula hoop, and 7 days later, the entire Earth has jumped onto the hula hoop. Everybody's going to have hula hoops all over the entire Earth in 7 days, in every country and every language. How come everybody discovered the hula hoop instantly? It's because somebody is running a hi-fi machine, a Wi-Fi machine. I believe that God is like a great computerized intelligence in the universe. And it communicates with each one of us, just like we can do on a computer. I can communicate with you, but if I want to, I can go on the computer and communicate with the whole world instantly. For us, it costs a lot of money to be able to do that. To communicate with 5 million people instantly, it's going to cost them money.
But that's a big job.
If the Almighty God is a computerized mind in the universe, it watches everything. It's got watchers that report, put it into the computer so it sees everything, knows everything, and has control over everything. And it can talk to all creatures on the earth together instantly through a Wi-Fi system. So I think of God as a spiritual computer, and we are living out some sort of a computerized program because it's said that the world is a stage and each of us play his part. So we're all being programmed to play our part.
Yeah, we're all playing our role. Absolutely. And I just have one more question, then we're going to wrap it up because I know you got to go, and you've been very generous with your time, and I really appreciate that, Jordan. Basically, last question I have is when the physical body dies, do you feel that the light is a deception?
The light?
Like how you see the light when you die, or the tunnel, the life review. Some people feel that is a way to suck our soul back in and spit us back in the reincarnation loop.
I've heard that from so many people. Yeah. But I've also heard from some very, very important and powerful people that you don't even know exist in this world, that I have talked to personally. I was in their company and talked to them. And they told me that they died on the operating table, and what they saw was a light at the end of the tunnel. And they told me what happened to them and how they went to that light and what went on. And these were very extraordinarily powerful people in this world that you would not even suspect that I would know. And they told me about when they died, that where they went and what they saw, and then they came back. And I would call them probably some of the top echelons of what we call the Illuminati. Some of the most powerful people in this world I have personally met. And they told me, talking with me, we talked about leaving your body and what happens to you when they die. And they told me, well, I died. And I'll tell you what happened to me. And I'm thinking, man, God, the story this man is telling me and who he actually is on the earth. The world of mankind knows him, and he's highly respected around the world by kings and rulers. All kinds of people know this man is very powerful. And he's telling me in private what happened to him. I've heard so many stories from so many interesting people in my life. And that's what I bring to the table. I always say on my radio shows, I'm not the world's foremost authority on anything. I'm just an ordinary man pursuing extraordinary knowledge. But what I do bring to the table, I feel is important or are value. What I do have, I believe is of value, are the people that I have met and the things which they have told me and I have experienced being in their presence, things that I would never be able to tell the public. Some of the most famous people in this world, I have been in their company, and they have said things to me, and I have with my own eyes seen what they did. I would never be able to tell anybody. But I do know that there's a whole world of other knowledge out there that people generally speaking in this world know nothing about.
Absolutely. Yeah, Jordan, you did. I really appreciate your time tonight. We had a nice little crowd here, and I'm sure this will get some replays. And your knowledge and just your time is very much appreciated, and can't thank you enough.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate being on the show.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And my website is, I'm just plugging myself, my website is Jordan Maxwell Show. Only 3 words, JordanMaxwellShow.com. Go on JordanMaxwellShow.com. There are all kinds of radio stuff. I got all kinds of radio shows I've done, all kinds of interesting stuff there. But you will see on Jordan Maxwell Show a folder that says Jordan Maxwell Research Society. It's another website that's crammed filled with all of my work. If you want to try and follow me, where I've been and stuff I've been doing for years, go on Jordan Maxwell Research Society and join it. Because there's a lot of stuff there you're not going to believe unless you see it and understand it.
Yeah, absolutely, Jordan. Your work and your reputation speaks for itself. And anyone, I highly suggest going to both those websites and diving in. And again, like I've heard you say many times, and even I agree with this, is you got to earn this knowledge, and you've got to just take your time. It doesn't happen overnight, but eventually the pieces come.
You're right. The Bible has Jesus saying, "You've got eyes that do not see, you have ears that do not hear." And with your heart, you do not get the sense of it. That's the third one. People see things and they hear things, but with their heart, they're not really getting it. They don't get it. They're thinking about their motorcycle and their beer drinking and the movies they're going to. They don't get it. They're not of this world. This world is decadent, downfallen, and only people who have risen above the masses will be able to understand spiritual things, understand what a spirit is, understand what God is, understand, and when you use terms, define your terms, because other people hearing you will not understand what you're talking about. When I talk about God, may be different than what you think about God. Everybody's got a different idea about God. So I always try and define my terms, so people will know what I'm talking about. A lot of people say, well, that's exactly the way I was viewing God. Not everybody, just some who say, see if I went to. And so I have formed my ideas about God and the spiritual world from all of my experiences. I've had extraordinary experiences all of my life that tell me something about life and where we are and who we are and where we're going. I could sit for hours and tell you all kinds of preternatural experiences I've had with people all over the world. I've been around the world many times and seen all kinds of strange things. I went in the pyramid of Giza 3 times. 3 times I went to Egypt, giving lectures in Egypt. And I went in the king's chamber of the pyramid, and I was blessed in the king's chamber. I laid in the king's sarcophagus.
Oh, wow. I've heard amazing stories of that.
Now, I had a high priest bless me in the pyramid with the whole ritual. I laid in the pyramid in the king's sarcophagus, and he did a whole ritual blessing on me. And a lot of people were in the king's chamber watching him do what he did. I closed my eyes. I put my hand like this. He said, no, this hand goes on top of this one. Okay? And then he began to go into a ritual and praying about me. And a lot of people saw it, and I did not feel any different. When I came out, I didn't feel any different than being blessed in the king's chamber. But I have to believe that that's not by chance. And I must have been affected in some way. I didn't feel it, but I must be in some way affected by it. The mere fact is that I just do what I do, and I try and help people to wake up to the world we live in. And there's so much you have not been told. So that's my website, Jordan Maxwell Show. Remember they add the word show. JordanMaxwellShow.com is my website. Go on and join my research society.
Absolutely. Everyone, I highly suggest it, and I can't thank you enough again. It's really been great sitting here shooting it with you, and hopefully we can do this again sometime.
You can always do it anytime. Let me know.
All right. Thank you, Jordan. Blessings to you, my friend. It's very nice having you, and I hope you have a good night, and I'll talk with you soon.
Okay. Good night.
Take care. Good night.